Hi everyone, welcome back to the studio for this week's very special episode of Tutorial Tuesday. Today I thought we would do kind of a misty sunset scene, a very limited palette, so be sure you check the description below so you can see the paint list that we're going to be using for today. But I thought we would create kind of a gray atmospheric scene where you can see the sun and it's going to be reflecting in some water, and then we're going to add some really fun stuff at the very end. So stay tuned and be sure to watch till the very end because you're going to love it. I've never painted what we're painting today, and I'm not going to tell you what it is. If you haven't figured it out by now, well, that's your problem. Okay, so let's jump up to the canvas here. I have my standard 18-inch by 24-inch canvas, and I'm going to actually just mix up a gray right now with equal parts alizarin crimson and phthalo green. So I just want to start with a pretty big pile of this gray because we're going to use a lot of it today. And I want it to be pretty equal parts, so a really good gray, not to one side or the other. Sometimes you will put it a little bit more to the red side or a little more to the green side, but I'm looking for a pretty equal gray, nice and mixed up. That's looking pretty good. Mix it with a little bit of white just to check our color here. That looks really nice. That's pretty much what I'm going for. So let's start with that. We are also going to be using our red and crimson as is and the phthalo green. So make sure that you still have some of those left over. Now, we're going to have a really big sun in this scene, and I'm going to start with, we'll use, I don't know, maybe we'll use some of the bright red and alizarin crimson together on the brush. Maybe a little bit more towards the red side. We'll see how this goes. I'm going to try and pick out the sun. It's going to be kind of a big one today. That's not bad. It's pretty round. Whoop! Except for that part. We'll just forget about that. That never happened. A little bit more red, I think. I'm just going to start with this nice and dark here, and then we'll work with this a little bit more as we move through the painting. But I want there to be a pretty good size sun here. We've got to start with kind of the base of it. So get that there, and now we're going to reflect that a little bit down into the water. Maybe just a little bit darker. Nice. Okay, now I'm going to pick up a sable brush now, probably a little bit of a bigger one. Titanium white. I'm going to go into straight alizarin crimson first. And right around the edge, I'm just going to put in a little bit of this. Just allow those two to kind of blend together. Now, titanium white, a little bit of phthalo green to that mixture. Right around the edge. I think I'll reload. It's just the same color, just a little bit more pigment to make it all the way around. And I'm being careful to keep the same part of the brush always pointed in towards the center. We'll kind of bring that in a little bit. It's going to give us just a tiny bit of glow to work with here later. I'm going to wipe off some of those pinks, get a little bit of this gray again. We're going to use this in our reflection below. We don't want to forget about that. So we'll just surround our pink in the reflection with the same gray. You don't have to try it quite as hard to get it in a circle or anything, but we want to get some good amount of this color right on the border. So I'm just kind of scrubbing it in. You can use both sides of the brush. Maybe a tiny bit more over here. Now you can already see water happening down here. Didn't even try. Cool, I like that a lot. It's just playing around now. All right. Next, okay, I forgot what I was doing. I'm gonna just wipe out a little bit of my sable brush, and then we're gonna go into a little bit of a darker color. Still titanium white. We've got our phthalo green and the alizarin crimson kind of mixture here. Now we're gonna go over into this gray and grab just a touch of it. This is the gray mixture that I mixed up before with my alizarin crimson and phthalo green, equal parts. And then I just added a little bit of white to kind of see what it looked like. And now we're combining that into our other color up here. So we're going to go right onto the edge. Halfway over with our brush, halfway on the color that we already painted, and halfway into the liquid white. That's super important. Let me show you, if you paint like this, you're going to be leaving yourself these little halos in here, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But when you're trying to paint a gradient, that's not really as effective. We want to have light to dark so that we can see, and our eyes are going to create this illusion for us on the canvas to help with perspective and atmosphere and all of that. And when you miss these little things, it makes a difference for our minds. So to fix that, halfway into the color you mixed and halfway into your liquid white is the perfect spot. And you can go out as far as you'd like. You can go out further. We can make this twice as wide. No big deal. But always start with that mixed color halfway in of your last color. So if you want to have a lot of one color, you have to make more of it. If I wanted this to go further so that I can still come into that paint and mix it. So we want to grab some of the paint that we used last and blend it. This is why we use the liquid white as well. You can't really do this very well without it. We'll just kind of soften that a little bit. Now we're going to go even darker. Grab some of our main color now. Look at this, my bristles are half of the brush is in the paint that I just painted. That's what I mean, half of it, half of the brush in it. You'll be so much happier. And you can see here, there's a little bit of light. We want to bring that in just a touch more, so that we can always create that illusion. Now, before we get too ahead of ourselves, let's go add some of these colors into our reflection. We need to add just a touch of white, and then we will go around the outside of this gray. I'm still going into that color I just mixed with my new color. A little bit darker. Look at that, I didn't even have to try. We can create the horizon just by picking out where the sun is and your reflections. We'll just kind of dance that in there and soften it out here in a little bit. Now we need to work on all of these other colors. Let's pick up a bigger brush so we can really get moving on it. I'm gonna go back to my 1-inch brush, load up with our dark, really get some paint in here. Now half of my brush, or a little bit of my brush this time because it's a bigger brush, is going into my past color, and we're going around nice and dark. It's always mixing with our liquid white. And we're going to leave a little bit here for our horizon there. A little bit more, I think, here. A little bit more over here. Now, let's grab, with that big 1-inch brush, lots of our dark, we're going to add phthalo green. Just grab a little bit. Grab a little phthalo blue. Make sure that you mix it. You can't really see it, but you know you're mixing it. Ooh, there it is. Oh, that's nice. I like that. Let's do a little more blue. I think that'll look nice. That seems more green. Let's do a tiny bit, added a tiny bit of crimson and a little bit more blue. That's what we want. Let's probably get some of this color down below before we get too crazy. You can go kind of back and forth with the color we mix on the brush. Crimson, phthalo green. Okay, a little bit more blue. Blue up here. Get that filled in. And then I think a little bit of midnight black to finish it off. nice and dark in the corners. Nice. Okay, I think we'll just kind of get some of this color, fill that in. We're gonna blend that out later. A little bit of gray. Now let's pick up our blending brush and we're gonna start in the very middle. Ooh, I hope this works. Now, let's start with our brush just a little bit out into our gray here. We're gonna kind of blur the edges and then go pick out the edges again. So we wanna make it nice and fuzzy, and then we're gonna really establish where the sun is in a few minutes. We're just gonna work some of this light around. Now, let's use a little bit of that just down below, just real quickly. That's it. Catch me if you can. I keep going back and forth for the camera and the zoom camera, and I'm having fun. So thanks, Tyson, for doing the cameras and being quiet. If we put a mic on him, you guys would laugh. Okay, I'm just going to soften all of this gray really carefully, working out and back in to create a little bit of this gradient, nice and soft here. Be careful with that brush. I think I'm going to wipe it out just a tiny bit. Check which side. Oh, pink side. I almost did that wrong. Good thing. Always check. Now a little bit more. We're moving out and bringing that gray in. Just very carefully grabbing a little bit of it and bringing it back towards our pink. In order for this pink area to look bright, we need to have dark around it. So we created these little buffers for us to help make it easier. Let's bring that in. Now we already have some thick titanium white in this color here, which we laid on before. That was intentional. And that helps us to create this little glow here, because the liquid white is almost enough, but you need a little bit more. And the titanium white will end up kind of going over the top and making this fuzz here, and it just works out so well. And that's what we're trying to create. I don't want to see where one color ends and another one begins until I decide that. Right now, I want this all to just disappear into each other. Oof. Got something slimy on that brush. Probably some paint. About to fall out of my hands. Ooh, okay. Light area, interior light. Very important. Now, let's just wipe the brush off a tiny bit. Pick it back up. We've got our pink on the top. That's always working in the center. Just be safe that way. Now we're going out into this next darker area. Bring some of that back. Just a little bit. Soften. Each time that we go into a darker color, this light area in the middle is going to get brighter. soften all of this. Careful on the corners, we don't want to take that pigment off. Now we'll do a little bit up the sides here, and then I'm going to wipe off my blending brush really well. All right, now one more time, pretty clean. I'm not going to go all the way in, but just right here, I want to make sure that I can't quite see any brush strokes. I just really want it to be super soft. Maybe we'll work right here a little. Okay, wipe that off one more time. I'm liking this a lot. Now, we have a lot of pigment up here, and we did that on purpose because we want it to be nice and dark. So let's make sure that it's still looking darker. It's a little bit of a light area here, so I'm going to go back in with some of my darks, Midnight Black, Phthalo Blue. We can just grab some of this mixture. And we'll just reapply a little bit of dark into this corner. Same thing on the other side. Now we'll just soften that back, get rid of the brush strokes. All right, I still think these corners need to be a tiny bit darker, so we're going to use our crimson, which I just ran out of, just to get a little bit more of our richness here. Crimson, phthalo green. Now we've got our nice gray, and we've got some blue. Nice and dark, just a little extra. There we go. That's gonna be nice. And a bit just on this corners down here to harmonize. Blend. Gonna wipe that off. And just very carefully get rid of the brush strokes. Sometimes it doesn't happen right away when you get all the brush strokes out. Keep going at it, trying to even up the thickness of the paint right now is pretty much what's happening. So we can let that sit for just a tiny bit. We do the same thing on this side. Just bring them together. will really wipe out the brush. All right, this is just really looking nice and soft. I'm gonna go all the way across, get rid of all of our brush strokes. I'm just gonna soften this a little bit more here. All right, I'm just going to keep on blending this a little bit more here. Just here and there, trying to even it out. Get a nice gradient going. I just want this to be nice and even across. I'll soften it up around the top. Now right here, nice and hard blend here. Soften this out. And we're going to bring it up like a little bit of mist or fog. We'll let that sit for a few minutes and check it out again. Kind of want to just make it nice and soft. Now, let's look at the bottom and blend all of this. We'll just use the blending brush across, bringing our dark into some of that light. And all the way across. Okay, now next step, we're going to use just a little bit of titanium white on the fan brush. Titanium white, and we'll use a touch of bright red. Now we're going to pick out our actual sun now. And we'll go maybe just outside of this pink area. I want to make sure I get it round, but Looks pretty good. Maybe this side comes down a little more. Not bad. Now we'll just start on the top here with some light. And we're going to bring it around. Really simple, like, we'll pick up a sable brush and blend it. I think a bigger sable brush than that. Now I want to go, we'll start on the edges, halfway on the edge of the paint and halfway into the background, and just very lightly soften it. Okay, now I'm going to start down here and kind of soften this back and kind of work my way up. With all this mistiness, I kind of just want, like, it's moving into the mist, so it's going to be nice and bright up here and not so bright as it's being covered up by the mist. Yeah, a little bit more softening on the edge. And then with our big brush, we'll bring this mist right across the top again. Nice and straight. And it just disappears right there into the mist. I'm going to use my sable brush in here and just soften those lines even more. Nice and misty soft. Nice. Okay. Now I'm just going to check the bottom here and make sure I've got it kind of where I like it. Maybe we'll do, I still see like a couple areas up here. I kind of want to just pay a little more attention to real quickly. And I just really wanted this to be super soft, really gray. Straight across. And we'll just make sure we've got a nice line here. It's going to be just a touch lighter. There it is. Now we've got our soft gray there as well. That is so cool. Okay, simple, but sometimes you just have to work really hard on some of these little things so that you're happier later in your painting. This one, just lots of gradients and lots of soft brush work. Very little colors though. Really nice. Okay, now I think it's time for the fun part, the surprise. We're gonna put a really cool tree. I found this little image online of some blue herons and a tree, and we're gonna see if we can do this. So boom, there it is. I love the tree. That seems really cool. So I need to find the things that I need. What do I need? Palette knife, that would be useful. It's here somewhere. There it is. Okay. Palette knife, and we're gonna mix up a gray again because I used all of mine. So phthalo green, alizarin crimson. There was probably a little bit of blue left over there from before. That's okay. Just a nice dark color. Pure pigment, no white. And we'll do this cool tree. I'm using a smaller sable brush. You could use a filbert brush here. Ooh. Okay. Now I got kind of my rough draft here. I'll just kind of wiggle that guy in there. Ooh, these kinds of trees are really fun. The ones that are kind of by water. They get all kinds of bent out of shape. You know, we want this nice and dark down here. Silhouette, because our light source is coming from behind now. Maybe we'll use our sable brush to do some more branches over there. And then we're gonna have our little perch here for our birds. All right, now let's work a little bit of this into our reflection before we miss out. You need it to be nice and dark. And, ooh, tricky. All the way up this one, coming around. Something like that. And I think I'll use my script liner. We'll go into some brush wash and we'll just thin down a bunch of dark here. I have a pretty old video of how to make my brush wash, but you really only need 3 ingredients: water, vegetable oil, and dish soap. You can email me and I will send you a little drawing of all of that. Kaylee at KayleeRakowski.com. Or go watch my YouTube video. It's a lot longer, but it also has it in the description. It's from like 2 years ago maybe, or a year and a half. We'll see. But anyway, go check that out. It's really easy and it doesn't smell bad. Now, I'm going to use this fancy brush wash and just put in some more tree branches here. I'll darken this one up a little bit. Okay, now we'll do a few just to kind of bring the top and bottom together. We need to add some more little branches. That seems pretty close. I'll add a little bit more dark in this reflection. kind of chunkier in our reflection there, but that's okay. Who cares? Maybe, yeah, it's just a reflection. Now, let's add a little bit of light highlight to our tree. I think I'll just use, I'll use my script liner. We'll go into some liquid white and some of our pink color over here. It'll end up being kind of a light pinkish gray, titanium white, bright red, and our gray mixture. And some liquid white to make it stick. And on our side where the light will be hitting it, let's try and dance in some light. Nice. Now we can do just a tiny bit liquid white, blue, and gray, much darker, but still lighter than the tree color, and to the blue side. We want a little bit of water reflection on some of this tree. I think that'll do. We'll soften it with our sable brush again. This is a different one. I think I have 3 going for today. I'm just going to kind of tap and drag and soften these back just a tiny bit. Wipe off the brush. Okay, I think we're just about there. put our little blue herons in here. Maybe. We will see. Gonna mix up just this gray on a small sable brush. It's a pretty dark mixture, the same thing we used for the tree. Now let's do got kind of a long body and some big old heads and necks. And I think I'm going to use my script liner. Too big of a brush. I need a littler brush. But I'm going to pick up nice and thick paint here. I don't need a thin one. Now, let's do nice big necks. This one might be a little high from that branch. I might give him a different branch. Okay, now let's do, they have like an orange, pretty bright orange beak. I don't actually have any brown out. Let's get a little bit of yellow ochre just for the beak. Just a teensy little bit. Wow, that was not a little bit. Just use all of it. Okay, a little bit of that and some red. More yellow than red, but we want it a little bit darker. And we'll give him a nice long bill. A little bit lighter titanium white and yellow ochre. Okay, now let's see if we can get these. He's got a nice black eye, kind of section for the eye, so we want to make sure that's there. Nice and dark. And we want this underside nice and dark. Now, we'll mix up a nice little highlight color, liquid white, and go into our titanium white. We've got a lot of our grays on here, so it's automatically going to mix into a light blue gray. We want it slightly to the red side, but it's going to be really hard to tell. We'll just start with this. I need a stick. a little bit. And this wing here. Okay, now just wipe off the sable or the script liner a little bit, and we'll just come back and kind of soften it back. Just a little bit on the edges. And we need the light to kind of come around on this neck. And then we get very close, pull in some little feathers. I need to fix this. Yeah, that's pretty cute. Maybe just a touch more of this, pulling this light around here. And we'll kind of leave this one. And I think I need to do a tiny bit of lightness on his little legs. And then we'll lighten up his bill. Get the brush nice and clean. We've got a lot of lighter colors in here now, so it'll be easier. Titanium white, yellow ochre, and liquid white. That might be too bright, but that's okay. No turning back now. Okay, I'll wipe out the sable, I keep calling this a sable brush, script liner. And then I'm going to pick up the sable brush. Maybe that's why. It's because I knew I needed it. And we'll do the little one again. We'll paint one more little heron. Give this one a friend. Maybe this one's a little bit bigger. Oh, I'm kind of nervous. These are not like super easy, but they're also not too hard. Yeah, they look very simple shaped. This one's a bit bigger. He's going to be standing on that branch there. And let's give him a big old neck. Here. And some leggies. Cool. Okay. Now we've got all of our dark. Let's make sure we've got this curve right there. Nice dark spot. We'll get some highlights going on there and get the beak looking good. Put this brush down, Kaylee. Let's get the bill kind of figured out. We'll use our yellow ochre and red again. Just our base, just to kind of get us going. I'm using this brush, you've probably seen it, I'm putting it on the edge of the canvas so that I can balance my hand, and it really makes it a lot easier for these delicate little bits of the painting. Definitely recommend. I think I might add just a touch of this into this one. Whew. I like doing big trees. These little things are hard. Now, we'll do a little bit of our lighter gray. We've got a lot of our base color. We want to add in some highlights. Lightly though. Medium thickness needs to be slightly thinner-ish, but not too thin. So we want to be able to still blend it. So we have lots of titanium white and our gray. I read today that blue herons can be pretty tall, and I knew they were pretty big, but they could go from 3 to 5 feet tall, depending on how old they are. That seems kind of crazy. Get this one right here. And ooh, I was almost running out of paint, but it worked. Just sometimes when you're using this script liner, you have to twirl the brush as you're painting. And if you push your paint in a twirl, you'll continue to get that light paint to come off on the edge. It is pretty tricky. I won't lie about that. All right, let's do our second feathers down, the tail feathers, and we'll bring this light just around, just lightly. That one's better than the first one. So cute! Wow. Okay, let's do a little bit more. We'll kind of just pick out a few. They kind of have this like first feather, second feather thing. I'm not a bird person. I love birds, but I don't know a lot about them. But we'll just add this in here. Get their tail feathers. Woo! Out it went. I felt that one coming, but I did just make a mess. I'm gonna step on it in my socks and then have it everywhere. Maybe I saved it, I don't know. Okay, a little bit more. Oh, gotta use the brush side of the paint. It would have worked, maybe. I guess if I was scraping it off, that would have worked, but probably not. Okay, a little bit more on that one there. We'll do a little highlight on. I feel like I'm holding my breath for some of this because I want to not mess it up. Now we'll do a little bit more highlight on that bill. Bill or beak? Let me know in the comments below. I don't know. Beak? Bill. What is the difference? I guess if a duck or a bird, I don't know. Let's have a conversation about beaks and bills. Is there a difference? Because I gotta know. Beak. Bill. I don't know. Bill just sounds like a person. Beak sounds like something else. The bill beak. Bill the beak? Maybe this is Bill. Aw, Bill the crane. Okay. That's enough, Kaylee. We'll do a highlight. Too much paint on the brush. I'm gonna just twirl out a little bit. There we are. It's a nice fine point there. Oh, not bright enough. A little bit brighter. I took off too much paint. Okay, wipe that out. Get this dark again. We'll just clean it up. That's cute. I feel like I kind of want to leave it at 2. I mean, I do like my odds. Okay, we'll do one more. Shall we? No, I don't know. I don't want to ruin it. Okay, I'm just going to do those 2. And then we need to add like a tiny bit of an idea in the reflection, but they're kind of going to be, let's see, it's this one right here. This way. The beak is down like this. Who cares? Something like that. And a bigger one on the lower tree. He's going this way. And up. Sure. Something like that. Cool. Okay, I want to do just a touch of really dark, the darkest paint, nice and thick. Just on the eye there. Cool. That's nice. Okay, let's do some finishing work on the water down here. We're gonna get our big brush going. Got liquid white dripping on everything. Okay. Now, big brush, we're just gonna lift a little bit and go across. And then we will use our sable brush. Let's find our small one, or if you were using your filbert brush earlier, you can use that as well. We'll just kind of work in a few little ripples here and there. Just kind of a nice rocking motion with this sable brush. Now we'll get some titanium white, a little bit lighter gray. A little bit of our lighter colors. Medium color. Just adding texture, softening. Now we'll use our big blending brush one more time. All kinds of water texture there. Now all we need is a little bit of a water line ripping around that tree, just a little hint. We'll use the same gray mixture, medium thickness, it's blue gray, it's whatever. Cut off a little roll of that. And maybe wrap around that side too. Just soften this back. Nice reflections in that. And I think we'll just soften this edge away. I think we got something on there before. Get rid of it. Never happened. Soften, soften, soften everything. Everything. Oops. Now, one last time with our water line. We can add some pink into it. Up some type of fuzz here. That's okay. Cool scene. I like it. I think I'm just gonna stop there and fix up my corners from my brush where I was holding on to the canvas there. Nothing major. And I'll give it a little signature, I think. Script liner. Bright red. I'll go over on this side here. Bright red and a little bit of liquid white seems to always work for me. Cool. All right, I am all done with my painting for today. I thought that was really fun, a little bit of a challenge to do these blue herons. I've never really painted that type of bird before, but I thought it would be a really fun challenge to do a little silhouette with some very simple colors. So I really hope that you give this a try and let me know in the email. You can email me, Kaylee at KayleeRakowski.com, if you decide to paint this painting. I would love to see your version of it. And I might also love to hear what you have to think in the comments below. Let me know how much you like this painting, maybe where you're watching it from, or just how your day's going. And let's get chatting down there. Be sure to share this video with your friends who you think might like it and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much. My name is Kaylee. I paint wet on wet landscape oil paintings, and today you are here for episode 86 of Tutorial Tuesday. Thank you so much. Smile and be happy, friends.